Hey, Pastor Ray Barnett here with you. Glad that you could be with me here on the Oasis. And as always, I wish you a good morning, good afternoon, or a good evening, depending on what time you're watching this broadcast. Another beautiful day here in upstate New York. But these last few days have been exceptionally muggy. You know, everything you put on just kind of sticks to you. Nevertheless, it's been a great summer, and by the end of the week they're saying it's going to cool down once again. And as I mentioned, I think I mentioned to you, it's been more like a very beautiful fall this year, more than a kind of a sultry summer day or a summer. But today is August the 8th, and well, I'm just happy to have a pulse. Around me, everywhere there's blue skies, except right here. And there's some raindrops falling. And it kind of gave me an idea for this broadcast. I had something else in mind, but you know the old expression, into each life, a little rain must fall. And as I have told you in the past, I find that some of these old axioms, these old maxims and statements, one exception would be he wants his cake and eat it too. I've never quite understood that. I mean, what else do you do with cake but to eat it? But into each life a little rain must fall has great application for you as well as me. And I gave this advice to you, an admonition, a couple of broadcasts ago. We like to think of life the way it should be, the way we think it ought to be, instead of accepting life the way it is. And further, for so many of you who watch this channel, have nervous symptoms, and all that attends those nervous symptoms, remember there's a myriad of nervous symptoms that anyone can have, all types of symptoms, some of them very strange and fairly frightening. Yet, nervous symptoms are actually harmless. They don't seem that way because they're always registering danger in the brain, but they are relatively harmless. Anyway, this storm cloud that has now just passed me by gave me just a few little drops of rain. Thought maybe I'd get rained out again today, as I often have the habit of meditating first and praying and thinking about what to share with you on the broadcast. And then sometimes I wait too long and it pours. But not today. Just a little rain fell, and we're good. All right. So what application does that have for you? Well, as I've told you in the past, you can't find, and I'll say hardly anybody, there may be some rare exceptions in the world, of people who don't have something wrong with them. A weak stomach, arthritis. I'm talking about all people, not just older people, I mean all kinds of people. Or it's the muscles, and on and on and on. We live in a fallen world, and there's always something that someone has that gladly you don't have. But then again, you'd say to me, but Pastor Ray, my symptoms are excruciating, and I wouldn't disagree with that because I've had them, and I know what you're talking about. But if we look at that maxim, into each life a little rain must fall, we gain some wisdom. So your particular problem is these nervous symptoms that you get, the sweaty palms, the sweaty underarms, the excessive sweats, palpitations, and on and on and on and on. And by the way, you should look them up just so that you can have an idea of how extensive the nervous symptoms can be, coming just simply from the nervous system, all of which are harmless. With the caveat, I always tell you, make sure you're thoroughly checked out by a physician before you you know, just accept my word on nervous symptoms. Make sure that you don't have a heart condition or something else. But once you've been checked out and they can't find anything, and you go through that, most nervous patients go through that several times, and tests keep coming up negative, then it's safe to say that, you know, what your problem is in your nervous system. It's creating these very distressing symptoms. But if you take the point of view that, I don't know, I mean, this is something that I was born with. Remember I told you that? There is really, for the great majority of you, this is how you were born. Your nervous system is very sensitive. And for some, it's not you're born with it, but it developed over time for whatever reason. Could be, again, a multitude of reasons why. And that's what I'll say for the moment, at least, that's what you're stuck with. But keep in mind that I'm on this broadcast not only to encourage you and to impart some knowledge about these things to you, but they can be overcome. But I just want to drive home the point that into every life some rain is going to fall. Now the expression "a little rain" may be not satisfying you. You say, "Oh, come on, I've had more than a little rain." But honestly, I could say the same thing too. In my life, more than just a little rain has fallen. And well, you know, what are you going to do? It's just the way it is. But you have to understand that. Well, let me say it this way. You know, there are certain pancreatic cancer, for instance. I've had more than one friend who's had that. One has passed on. One is actually doing fairly well at the moment, but it's a very dangerous type of cancer. Well, that's a different category. That's not a nervous symptoms. That's a cancer. And so we don't categorize nervous symptoms with those type of diseases. And then we would say, okay, well, that's more than just a little rain. That's a real issue. That's a real serious problem, and definitely it is. But you could, if you're willing, you could actually view your nervous condition, nervous symptoms, as a little rain. A little rain that can be overcome, a little rain that, and I'm going to say eventually would be stopped, but that all depends really on you, on how much training you're willing to do, and to adapt the attitude that no matter what happens, I am not giving in to these things. I'm not going to let my life be controlled by nervous symptoms, so I won't go here, won't go there. I told you once I knew a woman who didn't leave the house for, I forget how long it was probably close to 20 years. And then it came to my mind that I actually know a woman now that, as long as I've known her, and that's 35 years, has rarely come out of her house. Until it dawned on me one day that this woman is probably dealing with something, some serious type of nervous anxiety. Yeah, it just occurred to me a few days ago, this woman that I know, and I see her, well, at least I see her family fairly frequently, but has never come out of the house but some few times. This beard is bothering me. It's so humid out. It's just that she hasn't come out of the house. So it never occurred to me that this woman, poor woman, is probably dealing with some type of nervous anxiety about leaving her home. Now, 35 years that I've known her, I don't know how long she's been in that house, but she rarely comes out. Rarely even comes out to the outside of the house, let alone get in a car, which once in a while you'll see her do that. Now that's a serious and protracted example of what nervous anxiety and nervous symptoms can do. Obviously, I'm thinking that she's not had any real, I don't know, any real help, any real counseling, any real help, in the area of that. because her habits haven't changed. She's just housebound. Now, excuse me, for some of you, that's your issue. You just don't leave the house much. And there may be one or two of you listening or watching that you're just like her, you don't leave the house at all. But that's just an anxiety. It's an unreasonable type of fear. Of course, in this world we live in, it's a dangerous place. Now it is, it's a dangerous place all over the world. But putting that aside, for the most part, 99 percentile part, you're not in any real danger of leaving the house and going shopping. Putting aside the times we live in that bad things are happening just about everywhere. This nervous anxiety this woman has, or maybe it's a mental condition, is sad. It's very sad. So, into each life a little rain must fall. And again, you may even put in the comments that I've had this and I've had that. And then I would agree to you. Well, or with you rather. That's more than just a little rain. That's a serious condition. That's a storm. But even then, you have to adopt the attitude that no matter what, I'm going to push through. I'm going to make this. I'm not quitting. I'm not giving up. And I'm not going to have my life dictated by this rainfall, whatever that may be in your life. So here I sit, and now it's completely sunny. Sun has come out everywhere. Those rain clouds came, started to drop a little bit of rain, and I said, well, let me take a chance. I'll set up the camera and do this broadcast for you. And I made a good call for once. It hasn't rained, and the rain cloud's gone. It has come. It has dropped its few drops on me and on the surrounding area here, and now it's gone. Now, let me hold this out in front of you. Think of how great it would be that you're no longer dominated by your nervous symptoms, by your nervous anxieties. If you've watched this broadcast long enough, the question I'm about to propose, a hypothetical question that you may ask, is it possible? If you've suffered 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years like this woman I just mentioned, yes, it's still possible with nervous symptoms to overcome them and to not be held back by them anymore. Yes, it is possible. So we can then categorize it, again, if you'll just permit me to say so, we can categorize it as a little rain, not a permanent condition. And again, I know some of you, because I actually know some of you personally, and some of you have written to me that this condition has lasted for years and years and years. I get prayer requests from some people, or a few people, that constantly have the same issue over and over again. When they ask for prayer, I pray. I don't try to do counseling through an email. That's what I try to do on this broadcast. But it is very, very possible for you to overcome these your nervous condition and the symptoms if you will have the pluck and the determination that, here's another old expression. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I think that you have to reach that point. You have to reach the point where you're just sick and tired of being sick and tired until you actually take action. And that's what this broadcast is all about. It's not about theory. It's not about wishing you well. It's not about just, hey, send me your prayer request and I'll pray. Which, by the way, many people who lampoon the actual power of God through prayer, that's how they view it. Well, pray if you want, that's okay. I met a man whose wife developed Alzheimer's. His wife, well, both he and his wife, but I know his wife very, very well. Very sad. That's a tough condition. Okay. But I did mention to him when I saw him just a couple of days ago that every time you come to my mind, I pray for you and your wife and your children and so forth. And he was very grateful. So much so he offered to, or he asked, he said, would you mind maybe talking to my son? He's going through some things. I said, no, sure, I'll talk to him. You see, conditions of the mind and of the nervous system, I should say of the brain and the nervous system, because they connect. The mind is a separate issue. We'll just lump it all together. They can be overcome if you will apply what you learn on this channel and then whatever you've picked up in counseling or in your readings, and especially Bible readings, to apply it. Let me end the broadcast by saying this. A verse that comes to mind, actually a couple of verses, in the first chapter of Joshua after Moses died, God tells Joshua, be strong and courageous. And he says this several times to him. But only make sure that you're strong and courageous. Do not be discouraged. Do not be dismayed. And if that was not possible, God wouldn't have said it to Joshua. And the idea is that it's an act of the will to say, no matter what I see, and of course Joshua saw quite a lot when he ruled the people of Israel in warfare and other problems. He just obeyed God. And he refused to be discouraged or dismayed. So my question to you today is this. How about you? Are you going to make up your mind and say, you know what? I'm going to refuse to be discouraged, and I'm going to refuse to be dismayed, and God will give me the victory. If you adopt that attitude, a little rain has fallen into your life. A very debatable point. But still, what is not debatable is that you have to say, I will not be discouraged, I will not be dismayed, knowing that you're going to be tempted to be discouraged and you're going to be tempted to be dismayed. What's your choice? I've made up mine. No matter what life throws out at me, you ever have to take a breather here and there, which I frequently do, and take time away or something, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving in. And I refuse to be discouraged. And I refuse to be dismayed. How about you? Let me pray for you. Father, help my friends to make a decision to refuse to give in, to be led in life by these nervous symptoms, which are quite distressful, distressing. Give them the courage to never be discouraged to the point that they quit. Help them, I pray today. In Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, I see we picked up a few new followers, a few people here or there. We're still not breaking YouTube records for subscribership, but that's okay. I'm welcoming you, the few that have signed on within the last week or so, 5 or 6 have joined. I'm glad to have you on board. Go back and review the 300 plus videos I have as you go a little bit. That's a lot. And learn what you can, and stick with me. And together we will overcome this situation. All right, that's all that I have for you today. Again, for the new subscribers, welcome. And for those of you who say, hey, let me give this a shot, then subscribe, hit the notification button, and then you'll know when these videos go up, which basically they go up around the same time every day for the most part. All right, God willing, I will be with you here again tomorrow on the Oasis. And until then, I truly pray that Jesus Christ gives you the peace that surpasses understanding. That's his promise. And that's what I pray for you. God bless, and I'll see you here tomorrow on the Oasis.